My name is Greg Mengarelli and I'm the Mayor of the City of Prescott, and you're watching Prescott Today. We have a great show for you today. We're in Granite Dells and we're going to be talking about trails. We have some great guests for you. We have Joe Baynes, who's the Recreation Services Director, Chris Hosking, who maintains and creates all of our trails in the City of Prescott, and then we'll talk to some folks with the Over the Hill Gang, who are a great volunteer group that help build all of our trails. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. My first guest on the show today is Joe Baynes, Recreation Services Director. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we're out in the Granite Dells, and we recently acquired 160 acres from the Storm Ranch. Tell us a little bit about that acquisition and how that all came together.
Yeah, absolutely. In around 2000, the voters approved a sales tax for streets and open space, and I think it was 2015, Council set aside $3.8 million for open space acquisitions. One of the first properties that we really had targeted is this property out here. It's so unique and so unique to the United States. So we worked with the ranch owners, the Seavers and the Huddlestons, wonderful people, great Prescott people, and had I guess what we call it, a win-win situation where we acquired 160 acres out here, and they were just a pleasure to work with. And now we're out here creating the trails within that 160 acres, and it's just turning out spectacular.
Yeah, you know, I've been walking around here, and it's just beautiful. Joe, give us a sense of where we are, the Storm Ranch, kind of where this acquisition is in relationship to maybe the Peavine Trail.
Exactly, Mayor. It's east of the Peavine Trail, so really, you know, we look at our trails as kind of like a road system, and the Peavine would be what we would describe as an arterial. So it's going to take the majority of traffic, and it allows then to be able to come off of that with some different unique opportunities. If you go to the west, you've got Watson Lake. You can take the part of the Circle Trail and off of the Peavine and go around the lake. On that side, this would be on the east side of the Peavine and puts us up against state trust land right below the Glassford Hill, which is really another unique formation that we have here in the City of Prescott. And we've got future plans on building trails that will connect to the top of Glassford Hill through here and then connecting over to the Iron King, which comes right off of the Peavine. So really it's great when we can get a trail system that connects to an arterial trail like the Peavine that people can, you know, get to these trails off of.
Mm-hmm. It's great to hear about that open space acquisition, working with those longtime residents of Prescott wanting to help out, and you know, it all comes together, and then all of our residents and tourists benefit from these trails. So we'll talk later with Chris more about trails, but getting back to your role as the Recreation Services Director, give us a quick overview of what you have going on in your area and maybe some upcoming tournaments and events.
Absolutely. Well, Recreation Services Department encompasses probably more than most people would think. Of course, we have all the lakes, the trails, the parks, the open space, but we also manage the facilities in the City of Prescott. I think we have 325,000 square foot of facilities. We also manage the central garage, which I think we have around 550 different pieces of equipment, from fire trucks to pickups to backhoes and all those things. In addition to that, we have the 36-hole golf course, Antelope Hills. We have a management contract with Billy Casper. They run the business end of Antelope Hills, and then we manage the maintenance end, the golf maintenance of the golf course. So it's a little bigger than most people think. So there's always a lot going on, a lot to do, but I've said it before, we have great people in place, so really managing something that size is made much easier with quality employees, in the City of Prescott has plenty of them.
Yeah, you have some great people, and that's a lot going on, good stuff. Tell me about tournaments or events that you guys have coming up that you manage as well in the city.
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. A few weeks ago, we had 3 events going on at the same time. We had a mountain bike race out at Pioneer Park with 575 riders. That race has grown from about 400 riders last year, so it's seeing some significant growth. We had a soccer tournament in town, all over town, Prescott Valley as well, using fields there. And that was, I believe, 73 teams, 260 teams over the 2 different weeks that they did that soccer tournament. So that's a big economic boost. And at the same time, we had a trail run going on the Circle Trail. Believe it or not, a 54-mile race all the way around the Circle Trail, which they had over 100 people that did that. Then they had one that was half of the Circle Trail, and then they also had a 10K. And they were right around 500 runners, which it's grown from 3 years ago at 200 up to 500. So I estimated between those three events, we put about 7,000 people in town that spend money in the restaurants and buy gas and stay in the hotels. So it really helps the economy, and it just makes it a fun place to be. There's always something going on in Prescott, and I'm just proud to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe. I think that's evolved in our city where trails were just kind of for recreation for our residents, and we didn't really think of them as an economic driver. But really, when you start talking about all these events that are bringing people into the city because of the Circle Trail and the other trails that we have, Whiskey Off-Road's another great event that really brings a lot of people into our city, and so it does make a big impact economically.
It does, and it also, I always say this too, it parallels with quality of life. So there's economic development going on, it's stimulating the economy, but also with the addition of these trails, the condition we were able to keep our parks in because of the visitation that we get, it improves the quality of life for people who live here, and I know that's one of the reasons I moved here 34 years ago, the quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're talking tourism really here and bringing people into town. Tell me how you partner up with those different groups that attract tourists to our city and kind of how you collaborate with those folks.
Well, I've got to give a lot of credit to our city manager, Michael Lamar. When he came in, he readjusted a lot of the departments. That's when we added fleet and facilities to my department, streamlined things. But I think one of the more important things that he did was kind of revamp the tourism department, bringing John Heine in to be the communications manager, but also be in front of the tourism. Ann Stewart, Wendy Bridges, the whole group, we work well together. And, obviously, recreation services is a big part of tourism, bringing those events in, but working with John and Ann and the whole group, I think we've taken it up at least 2 notches. We'll be going to Minneapolis to do a sports commissioners conference, which we'll go meet with different event planners, different events, and try to bring them to Prescott to put their event on here. We're partnering with Prescott Valley and bringing their event center coordinator, Scott Norton, who works for Spectra, to that same conference in hopes that we can bring in some indoor sports, which is really wonderful because our goal is always to boost our midweek and our off-season, and with that facility, 5,500 seat auditorium they have out there, it can bring events in the wintertime that will help support the Prescott businesses as well as Prescott Valley businesses. So this type of economic development is definitely regional, and we're proud to have partners like Prescott Valley.
Yeah, I love hearing that, Joe. It's very important to me that we partner with Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and others in the county, and really important that we fill up Prescott Valley Event Center, and I'm glad to hear that we're really partnering with them to try to help fill it up. It just helps everybody. It is a regional approach, and I appreciate that.
It is, and we're really proud of the fact we're working with Prescott Valley to come from the area where we stand today to connect to the top of Glassford Hill. About half of that trail is on Prescott Valley land and about half would be on ours, but we're working together as a team to get that put together. And then our friends in Chino Valley, we've got plans to connect the Peavine finally after many, many years to Chino Valley, which that's twofold. It's tourism, but I think it's also it gives people the alternative to use alternative forms of transportation to get to work. So we'll see commuters on bicycle coming to or from Prescott to Prescott Valley or Chino Valley. I think that's another component that people don't look at very often, but it's a big part of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for being with us today. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Chris Hosking, our trails expert for the city of Prescott. Welcome back, everyone, to Prescott Today. I'm with Chris Hosking, who's the Trails and Natural Parklands Coordinator. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the job that you do here for the city.
Well, I manage close to 100 miles of trail. We've built roughly 70 in the last 12 years. Also, part of my job is to take care of the open space or the natural parkland. And so we have about 2,400 acres, and so my strategy has been to put trails in those areas and put them to use.
That's great. So how many miles of trail do we have, and have we reached a significant mark on the
We're going to be
trails?
real close to 100 miles.
Okay.
So that's a that's significant, I think.
Yeah, and it's just, those are just within the city. We
Yeah.
work with other agencies in our area to kind of coordinate trail use, right?
Yeah, so we work, our partners are the Forest Service, the big scale, and so we have, within the basin we have about 450 miles. The Forest Service has about 800 miles, including the Bradshaws and Mingus and all the motorized trails. We currently get, close to 2 million visits between the city and the forest. I've got data for about 800,000 visits on city trails. Our busiest being the Peavine Trail, busiest recreation trail with about 75,000 visits a year. The greenways downtown probably get the most, about 140,000 visits, but Constellation gets about 50,000 visits a year. But we're seeing all these trail usages going up, even though we're building more. So, we'll be getting up to 900,000 soon.
Right. What new trails are you guys working on right now? I kind of feel funny asking you this because they're working right behind us, obviously. But what new trails are you working on?
Well, we, recently acquired a portion of the Storm Ranch, 160 acres, with money from the Open Space Fund that was put aside. And council voted on it, and we bought 160 acres, and we're putting trails in here. And it's a beautiful spot. We've got great views here, lots of cool rock to be on, and about 1.5 miles down the Peavine is where you access it. And it's a spectacular area, very different than other parts of the Dells.
Yeah, I think of you as a trail architect, and I'm always amazed as I've walked around out here, just your vision for where a trail could go. Nothing like what I would put in probably, but tell us a little bit about that. How do you get a vision for a trail and kind of see where it goes?
Well, I'm looking at where I can go and where I can't go. So I'm also thinking of usages. I'm thinking of hikers, I'm thinking of kids hiking, I'm thinking of older people hiking. I'm also thinking of bikes. Where's the line for the bikes? Where does it flow from one to the other? But it's pretty extensive. I walk all through every different canyon here and figure out where I can physically put a trail and where it makes sense to put a trail. But I'm also looking at, there may be a great view here, there may be a great tree here, there may be a balancing rock over here. And then I make a note of all those, and then I try and connect the dots. But I try and do it in a non-contrived way, and so I'm always turning the viewer. So they're seeing the views this way, they're seeing the views this way, because it is spectacular out here, and you see things. Just turning 90 degrees, you'll see a very different type of view. And then coming the other direction on the trail, you'll see a very different view.
Yeah, a few weeks ago I had my family out here, and you're so right. I mean, it's very interesting out here on the Easter Trail, on the new trails here on the Storm Ranch, and there's amazing views both ways, over the lake, towards Glassford Hill.
Yep.
So you've done a great job here. So you have volunteers helping you. Tell us a little bit about the Over the Hill Gang and those volunteer groups that help build the trails.
Well, yeah, our main volunteer group is the Over the Hill Gang, and we go out on Mondays and Fridays for 3 hours, and we've managed to build close to 70 miles of trail with these guys, and it's impressive. They're retirees mainly, and we'll get 15 to 30 people show up every day, and we work for 3 hours, and you keep doing that. So we're averaging about 2/10 a week, and you spread that over 10, 11 years, it adds up.
Yeah.
And so we also have other volunteers. We have what I call voluntary volunteers and non-voluntary volunteers. So the community restitution, we have the two guys, Larry and Danny, who head that up, and I mean, I couldn't do what I do without those guys. They come out with people, who've got a misdemeanor or DUI, and they have to work off their sentence or their fine. And so they come out every Saturday, and they may have 10 to 12 people, and so I do a lot of maintenance with those guys. But I also have nonprofits and individuals who take care of, the Acker Park or Strickland Park or the Community Nature Center. So my job in a lot of ways is facilitating the free help. you know. So there's me, but I have a lot of support staff. I have support staff at the city, you know, at Parks and Rec, answering phones. You know, I have people down at City Hall who do all my mapping with the GIS department. So I'm trying to coordinate all this stuff, but I really put my effort where I get the help. Mm-hmm. And if people want to help, I'll equal that effort. If not, you know,
right,
go above and beyond.
So if somebody is interested in helping out, how could they go about connecting to be a volunteer out here helping out?
So what you can do is go onto the city website, or you can put in into your computer prescotttrails.com. You'll get straight to the trails page, and right at the top of the page is how to volunteer. You click on that, fill it in, and then I'll get an email, and you'll be on the list for the Over the Hill Gang for volunteer stuff that goes on. There's other volunteer stuff in the city too. With trails, you can work with the mountain bike group. They have monthly sessions on the weekend, so people come out during the week on a Monday and Friday. We have monthly work events in the forest that we partner with, you know, the mountain bike club or the Forest Service. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity to volunteer out there.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Chris. When we come back, we're going to talk to one of the Over the Hill Gang members about their service out here on the trail and what they do. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Prescott Today. I'm with Alan Grell. He's one of the members of the Over the Hill Gang. Welcome, Alan.
Welcome. It's a great day to be out.
It is a beautiful day. So how long have you been on the Over the Hill Gang?
It's 5 or 6 years. I don't remember
Lost
exactly.
track of time.
It was after I retired.
Okay. And tell us a little bit. You're out here Mondays and Fridays, from what I understand.
And sometimes Wednesdays.
And sometimes Wednesdays. Tell us a little bit about a typical day or half day, whatever it is.
Well, we typically work from 8 to 11.
Okay.
And we'll meet up someplace, come out to where we can access the work area and hike out, you know, however far it is. And then we start following the trail that Chris has laid out. And sometimes we don't believe where Chris has laid out the trail, but he's a genius at this kind of stuff. And we'll either move rocks or build ramps like they're doing in the background, or you know, trim trees, those kinds of things to make the trail more accessible.
Great. So why do you do this? What do you find rewarding about this?
Oh, well, being outside, it's kind of my way to pay back to the city for all the things that the city provides, and it's fun. It's a great group of guys, and you know, we get to be outside and roll big rocks around. And
you guys all get along, give yourselves each other a hard time out here a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, once in a while we get a little carried away. But yeah, no, everybody gets along very well.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your service and what you do for the city. We really appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show today, Alan. Well, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank all of our guests that are on the show today. We learned a lot about our trail system in Prescott and just all the different parks and things that we have going on in our Parks and Recreation Director's position. I want to thank the Over the Hill Gang just for allowing me to be a part of the show today. And please join us next month on Prescott Today on Channel 64, or go to PrescottMediaCenter.org. I'm Prescott Mayor Greg Mengarelli, and thanks for joining us.